This episode is presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Bryan Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center. Dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs, it provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to the Explore Local podcast presented by Visit Cedar City Bryan Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development, produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson. Okay, today we are excited. We are starting season 2 of the Explore Local podcast. We've got a whole new setup, comfy chairs this time, and so we're excited to really kick this off. And to kick it off, we've got one of my good friends, Stephen Lisonbee. He's the Associate Vice President of Community Engagement or Community Outreach and Engagement for Southern Utah University, correct?
Correct.
All
you
right.
got it, Dave.
We're so glad to have you, Stephen. And you serve as a senior advisor to Governor Cox, correct?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. And you work with Governor Cox a lot on economic development initiatives, or is there kind of a variety of things that you work on?
Yeah. So in the senior advisor capacity, it's really rural affairs. So anything that's kind of off the Wasatch Front that touches rural Utah, it's a lot of coordination between local needs and cabinet members and the agencies. And so it's economic development, connecting with public lands, just a wide range of helping local municipalities and industry make the connection and navigating, state administrative services in a way that can complement their goals.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I'm really excited about is we are coming up on the One Utah Summit.
Yes.
And, there used to be 2 that we would hold each year, but now there's one Utah Summit now.
Yeah.
And, but it's really a gathering. I want you to obviously elaborate more, but it's really a statewide gathering on not only rural initiatives, but statewide economic development. Getting leaders together, talking about what's moving and shaking here in Utah. And we'll get to some of the moving and shaking that's happening at the summit, some exciting announcements you guys have made recently. But tell us more high level, what is the One Utah Summit and kind of what your goals are with it. And then I was telling you before the show, I love to quote Nacho Libre. Then we can get down to the nitty gritty about the One Utah Summit and about this. Who is this Stephen Lisonbee?
That'll be a lot of fun. So let's go back 36 years. All right. And so in Utah, 37 years ago, there wasn't this convening power for rural Utah. It didn't exist. And there were no state agencies or federal entities that had a focus on rural Utah to bring them together and solve collective issues. And so Southern Utah University stepped into that role, created a wide range of services and organizations to support that. They created the Utah Center for Rural Life, created the Utah Rural Summit, and some other things. And so it was highly successful for a lot of years, coming together, identifying ways to solve rural Utah's most pressing issues. Now, every couple of years, things tend to reinvent themselves, right? And there was a very unique opportunity when I came to Southern Utah University, and subsequently close thereafter, Governor Cox came to office, where there was a thought process amongst multiple entities to think about how we merged multiple summits together, right? So, World Trade Center was doing one in Salt Lake. The Governor's Office of Economic Development was doing one in an economic summit up in Salt Lake. There was an energy conference. There's a wide range. How do we bring these together and create the One Utah Summit, bookending it in northern and southern Utah? And it's just was really fun to watch. The southern Utah version in Cedar City just has thrived.
Yeah.
Year 1 was around 400 people attending. Last year was around 1,500 who attended. And so as we've made the adjustment and kind of reimagined year after year, we've realized that let's put all our energy into the one in the fall.
Yeah.
And we can let the spring one, rather than hosting that one up there, we can complement and support so many other summits happening in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You know, agencies in state government, we can show up for others rather than hosting our own, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of led us to where we're at, where this is the first year where we have one Utah Summit in Cedar City, and we're really excited for it.
Well, I would have people up north say, when we kind of had we had two, twice a year we had the summit, the one in the spring you're talking about, and I would have people go, the one down south's my favorite one, and I think that's because, just from my own perspective, I think that's because it's a lot more, I don't know if down to earth's the right way to say it, but you're making like real connections. You're chatting with people and really networking and talking shop and talking about what's happening and where are we going. And to see that happening right here in Cedar City, right here now, Iron County, kind of showcasing that opportunity. Yep. I think people really enjoyed that. And, as fall cold's coming in, I think people want to get down south. Everybody loves that. The other thing that I was thinking about was just how we took kind of this rural gathering, this rural approach. And one thing that I've said about Cedar City and Iron County since I started here was that I've worked for various cities and worked with a lot of government entities throughout my career. And I've never seen such level of collaboration as I have here in Cedar City and Iron County. Now, there's still, anywhere you go, there's siloing and there's, people butting heads, but that's just getting work done, right?
Yep.
But I've never seen such a level of collaboration, so much so that we're almost stepping on each other to collaborate. And that's a good problem to have. So my point in this long monologue is it's no surprise to me when we talk about one Utah. Let's come together, that one Utah collaborating as a state on economic development, addressing those economic development needs and helping our rural communities. It's no surprise to me that it's happening right here in Cedar City and Iron County, which I have touted since I've started here a couple years ago, that we are just the epitome of what it means to collaborate here. And I don't know if you have thoughts on that too.
Dave, I concur with you, right? Like I came to Southern Utah University 6 years ago, and instantly as I came here for my job, like I was a student here, right? So I'm familiar with the community.
Only
right?
a few years ago.
Only a couple of years ago, right? And as I came back, the community engagement here is special, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen that through, one of the early projects that I took on was creating the Iron Leaders Academy. And just how fun that's been to see the leaders step in across so many diverse areas to invest into building future leaders, right?
Yeah.
And that just goes across so many things. And, the One Utah Summit is special, as you mentioned, because you come and you stay and you engage. It's not a morning. You don't come for breakfast, have a plenary, hit lunch, and you're back to your office 5 miles away. You're coming and you're invested into your time and your stay. And the One Utah Summit is really designed around, convening power, bringing people together across diverse backgrounds so that they can create magic in ways they normally couldn't, right? Number two, you're putting the best of Utah on display so that everybody has access to see it, touch it, and understand it. And I'll give you an example of that. So there was an incredible nuclear summit that happened in the Salt Lake area a few months ago, and I attended. It was very powerful, right? It had all the right topics, all the right players, but it was an invite only because it was trying to kind of groundbreak and swell this topic. It was designed uniquely to get the leaders in the space to come together and agree what the future looked like.
Right.
But now we're going to have some of the same conversations from that summit happen in a much larger space where everybody now gets to see and touch that, right?
Yeah.
And the keynote people that were at this targeted nuclear summit are going to be at this One Utah Summit for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And so they'll get to see them on stage, have sidebar conversation with them, and really take it to that next level. And then the third piece is, and I think this really makes the One Utah Summit very unique, is we make that last day, we call it Leadership Day, it's about investing into those who are coming to attend.
You're
But
right.
they're leaving with a higher capacity and competency to lead when they go back to their community, where they're going back to a nonprofit, education, government, or industry. They're more empowered to be successful in that environment. And
Right.
that's unique. Most conferences don't provide that kind of added piece to it. But
yeah.
Cedar City is the perfect spot for it,
Yeah.
right? You mentioned the fall. It's beautiful. Attaching to an academic institution that has the space and the environment culture that everybody wants to go back and be a part of. There's so many things that make it wonderful. And I know we're going to talk about some of the evening activities and other stuff later, but people love spending time in Cedar City, especially in early October.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think I might have said this on the podcast before, but a few years ago, my wife and I came with our kids for I think it was probably a dance competition or something for our kids. And my wife turns and she's like, I could live here, and little did we know, a couple years later, we would be living here. Because of just that. It has just this beautiful makeup of everything you kind of love. And I could brag about Cedar City all day. But one of the things too, on the note of the collaboration is talking, I was thinking about the Business and Innovation Center here that has a collaboration between GOEO, SUU, Southwest Tech, the Cedar City Chamber of Commerce, SCORE, EDA,
Women's Business Resource.
Women's Business, thank you.
There's so many great. Yes.
And I've said for a while too, on the note of collaboration, and we get together once a month, all those groups and beyond, to collaborate. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is I'm just trying to underscore of why it's so great to have that One Utah Summit here. And I don't have any intent of like trying to lure something, or I'm not worried about it going away or anything. That's not why I'm saying that. But it's just, I love that we can brag about that here, and that we can set the precedence on how to come together. We're all fighting for similar resources a lot of time, but the mentality here is, rather than fighting for all those resources, let's put ourselves together. Let's put our heads together and utilize those resources efficiently. And that's what I see happening here. And that's what I see us trying to achieve with the One Utah Summit.
David, you're spot on with it. So I'm going to go back 6 years ago. President Benson, vice president at that time, and she was my hiring supervisor. And I came to SU, and we were talking about the Utah Rural Summit and what it could look like. Whenever there's change in leadership, it's just natural to just think about like, it's a new perspective, right? And such a legacy of success. And, it was a little stressful for me to think, how can I add to this? Like what could you do different? And my instinctive approach was, just what you mentioned, sit down with the chamber president and have a conversation. And we did.
Because they had a little summit thing going on as well.
They did. They had a little summit going on. It was kind of early fall as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, can we merge these? Right. Okay. Step one, connect industry into this, bring more industry to the table there. And then, Southern Utah University had recently launched their entrepreneur program, their center, right?
Yeah.
And they had quite a swelling of entrepreneurs who were very invested into creating opportunities for students and community members.
Yeah.
So how do we get them involved? Well, in a conversation with them, and the Business Resource Center, before it was called the Cedar City Business Innovation Center, how to get them together, and we came up with the State Bank Business Challenge.
Oh,
right. Yeah. And the very first year I was involved in the Utah Rural Summit, it was our main stage during lunch. Right.
Really?
So we all go into the ballroom and we have lunch, and meanwhile on stage we're having this Shark Tank competition is our lunch entertainment, right? Or part of the lunch entertainment.
Right.
And so I just think about that collaborative approach, which really started bringing more people to the table. So rather than traditionally high level government coordination, now you got government with education,
right,
with industry, right, and nonprofit, and you start to bring that mix in, right. And I remember the first year we made the lanyards for check-in, and we have these 4 boxes on the bottom. You had to check one of the boxes, like I'm industry, government, nonprofit, education. You had to write your own name on your name tag, because we were really poor, right? Just trying to figure out I didn't even know what a sponsorship was, right? Back then, I'm like, but I'd write their own name with a Sharpie and then check a box for what they were. And it was fun to have people look at the name and be like, oh, you're with a nonprofit, or you're with education, you're with industry. And now they start kind of looking for individuals in other spaces to start having conversations. Right. So that collaborative approach is in the DNA in Cedar City and Iron County. And the faster we can understand it and leverage it, the better these things turn out.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Well, I'm going to shift gears, and I actually want to circle back to more on like the State Bank Business Challenge and some of the fun events, but I think I'd be remiss if we didn't jump in early to some of the big announcements that you've made about who's coming to the One Utah Summit, and not only who's coming, but why? What's the value in having them come? And other than it's awesome to have some cool celebrities and stuff come. Yeah.
So Dave, every person that we invite to participate in the One Utah Summit has intention. We're very selective about who and why.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you brought that up, because the time on stage is so precious, and we're always maxing it out, and then we're cutting it down, and people are getting less time because so many people want time on stage.
Right.
And so there are a few things that we felt were important this year, right? And we'll talk through it. But that being said, think about some of the largest things happening in the state right now. And some of those were either announced or have been previously the key topics for the stage. So last year, Operation Gigawatt was announced on stage, right? And so it's fun to know that you can have a legacy of impact with the stage presence.
Right.
So this year, as you think about a few things, number one, it's important for individuals in Utah, in government and in industry, to know that they're more powerful when they work together. Right. And so I was really intentional to find somebody or a couple organizations that could tell the story about doing hard things together. And so that's where, I was searching and found the story of the Diesel brothers, right? And they're now not necessarily Diesel brothers, they've got their own names, but Dave Sparks and Dave Kiley, and they have been helping some of the state agencies with extractions or efforts that they couldn't do on their own. And so as you talk to Jamie Barnes, the division director over Forest and Fire Services, she will tell you that their innovation that these Diesel brothers have done with their equipment and their mindset have helped solve a lot of issues for her that their government team couldn't. So they're going to be on stage talking about doing hard things together. Right? And that's exciting.
When you talked about earlier, new people coming in and adding fresh perspective, sometimes it's new people or sometimes it's additional people that just come from a whole different realm. Right?
Exactly. Totally. Right. The perspective of the Diesel brothers is so different than your typical county economic development director. Right.
Exactly.
But you put them together and you can create some really great experiences. I think about Kevin Costner, and as we think about Kevin coming, the intention behind it is to help inspire a non-traditional thought about your community and what you potentially could unlock with the resources you have, right? So, Utah has a long history of film, but Kevin has reimagined that in a modern day and really done some incredible filmmaking in Utah. And so as you think about all throughout rural Utah, these communities, how can they be positioned to be connecting to producers that are interested in filming in their spaces and how to coordinate with them to make that happen, right? So you think about, Moab recently producing or being part of a film of a very large production, the largest that Utah's ever had. But they did that during the summer months where it's hot and the tourism is not as high.
Right.
But they brought that in during those months so that those restaurants in downtown places could maintain high level utilization, right? And so just thinking about, different ways you could keep your community thriving, right? And Kevin will be interviewed by First Lady Cox.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to extract some great conversation with him about you using natural beauty and while protecting it. And so Kevin's going to be a great one in that perspective, right? But it's intentional.
And with him, not only on that creative side, but there's some practical investment that Kevin Costner is putting into Utah.
Yep.
From the film industry, right? And so there's a spectrum of what he's doing. I know last year, I think it was at the What's Up Down South that they host in St. George. He did a little video montage about what his plans are to come to, in coming to Southern Utah and making a true impact in our
He's
economy.
investing.
Yeah.
He's here for the long term.
Yeah.
And so I think about, Jefferson Moss, the new executive director for Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. He's going to have on stage 3 different sizes of companies that are telling the story of how you can be successful regardless of the size of your company.
Right.
Real practical, hands-on kind of demonstration of experiences for businesses and how his office can complement your strategy and support you, whether it be through an ed TIF or just, consulting or connecting with the workforce, whatever it might be. So yeah, everything on stage is intentional and exciting. And we have an announcement that we'll be pushing out here on Tuesday that be probably the biggest we've had yet.
Sweet.
Which will be really fun. But I'll let me share one other perspective on Leadership Day that'll be really great. So Clint Pulver, our concluding 60-minute stage time, he is going to completely rock the crowd, right? and we're not able to kind of share the full details of that, but
we're putting the pressure on Clint.
Yeah, Clint is, but you got to be there. You got to be in your seat. You got to be ready, and you're going to be actively participating. It is going to be a highlight, right?
Awesome.
So Wednesday, roughly 11 o'clock before we wrap up for lunch, he's going to be fantastic. If you Google Clint Pulver, you'll get a sense for what he's going to do, right? Ed Lattimore is a professional boxer, motivational speaker, raised in poverty, found his way out of it. And he's going to talk about, working through hardship. I think the lieutenant governor's leadership, keynote on Leadership Day is probably one of the ones I'm the most looking forward to hearing. But she's going to talk about how hard times can really be the inspiration for great things.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm really excited for her. We've got Ruth Todd. We'll be announcing here this next week as well. We've got, just some incredible leaders on that Leadership Day.
Yeah. That's interesting. I was actually looking at Lieutenant Governor Henderson's topic on the agenda. And of course, this will resonate with you. I started having flashbacks on projects that her and I and you were engaged in.
Yep.
And immediately I thought, yeah, there are some hard things to push through with lots of different perspectives and opinions, and trying to just do our best for our residents and our communities, and benefiting everyone and leveraging opportunities, that come to help better Utah, right?
Yep.
And so I'm looking forward to hearing that as well, and I'm really looking forward to just kind of seeing the different speakers and perspectives when you're talking about that first year of the different types of organizations or people that come from different types of organizations.
Yeah.
I love that. I almost wish you guys would reinstitute that, because that's really what I was getting at too. If the collaboration is just, there's just this down to earth mix, and it's everything from different types of industry to even, and when you're talking about what Jefferson Moss is going to speak on, to different levels of businesses and entrepreneurs.
Yep.
And so when you're talking about the State Bank Business Challenge, so do you want to kind of give a high level of what is the State Bank Business Challenge and what's its intent?
Yeah, absolutely. It's become a legacy event, right? And so the State Bank Business Challenge really is a collaboration between SU's Larry H. Miller Entrepreneur Center and the State Bank of Utah, Southern Utah. So State Bank of Southern Utah has said, listen, we are all throughout Southern Utah, and we are seeing these startup companies come into our bank and looking for support. And then you've got the Entrepreneur Center who said, hey, we're tied in a network with all the other entrepreneur centers in Utah. They work closely together, right? Through higher ed. And they said, listen, everybody's got competitions all over. Take your best of your best. let's put them all into the semifinals. They run a semifinals on Monday afternoon. They go from maybe 50 or 60 down to like 5. And then those 5 get to show up on the main stage on Tuesday after lunch and pitch their competition to celebrity judges.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're going to be pitching to Sherry Dew and Ruth Todd and the Diesel brothers and First Lady Cox. And you know, they'll get a lot of great feedback from them. And then they get to kind of pick their prizes in Jeopardy style, right? And the prizes are like mentoring, you know, like one best phone call, right? Or, you know, all sorts of resources.
Yeah, I remember
in addition
last
to
year
money.
there was like, I think there was like attorney services up to X number of dollars.
Yes.
To a small business, that makes a huge difference, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If you know, I remember when Governor Herbert, when we first did this, you know, his prize was, I'll make one call for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the business like, I need advice on this. And the governor's like, I know who can help you with that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll make a call for you.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's unique that way. There's prize money up to $50,000 as well. But the reality is it's a bootstrap type of competition.
Yeah.
It's not competing for $1 million of capital investment. It's you're competing for somebody else to help you be part of your journey.
Yeah.
Right. And I really believe that's the best approach for rural Utah, right?
Yeah.
Like you got a great idea, bootstrap it, grow it, invest into it with equity and time. Don't sell it out to somebody, then you lose your control, right?
Yeah.
That's typically how rural Utah does their startups. So that's the model, and it'll be a lot of fun this year.
Well, I remember last year leading up to the actual challenge on stage with your finalists. I hope I'm not mixing it up, but I remember I was asked to go sit in a room with a bunch of judges leading beforehand, like a semifinal.
Yep.
And we were all judging them. And I remember just being blown away by so many different small businesses. There's this, and in the semifinals, they got prizes and stuff, and that's all before the summit.
Yep.
And I remember there was this one young woman and her husband. They make it's like a fruit sorbet or something.
Okay.
And I was just blown away by their energy, and they did well in the semifinals. I don't think they went on to the main stage, but I remember seeing her later in town, and I was like, is that the young woman from the State Bank Challenge? And, you know, she was working another job and going to school and things like that. And I was just so impressed because for someone that was so young, and then there were people that had like these incredible softwares, and they were multi years into their careers, and they were coming up with this idea. And to have that spectrum, in fact, one of the finalists on the main stage that blew me away, and actually I think was the crowd favorite, was this young woman. She had a large Instagram following, and I think her company was called Tiny's. She made like foods and candies, and she would sell them online, but then she would cater and do different things. And just the way you wouldn't have expected this from someone making candies, but the way she presented her numbers and her data on her social media following to her inventory, everybody was just blown away. Like, who is this young woman? And I just remember just hooting and hollering at the State Bank Business Challenge with all these business professionals. And I felt like I was hooting and hollering, like at a concert, like cheering for these entrepreneurs that were just had such great ideas. Anyways, I'm blabbing, but I just remember walking away from that thinking, I never expected this at something like this. Usually when I go to a conference, it's like, you go, you listen to the muckety muck speak, they tell you some stuff. You're lucky if you have one or two things that you can actually take away and apply. You're lucky if you make one or two actual good connections that you didn't already know. A lot of conferences are like that. I always try to get the most out of my conferences that I go to, but the One Utah Summit, I was just blown away. And that's why I said it's more down to earth. And I don't think that's the right way to phrase it, but it's just a way to connect in a way that's not stereotypical.
Yeah. Well, Dave, just think about the lunch, right?
Yeah.
Like typical large high-end economic summits, they'll have a plated lunch, right, with fancy napkins and, you know, glasses and all that.
Yeah.
Well, our most popular lunch is the food truck lunch.
Yeah. I
right?
remember that last year.
Yeah. It's so popular. Like we can't stop doing it. Right.
Yeah, some of the lines were just going around.
And every year we add 5 more food trucks. We just can't keep it up because we're growing. And so this year, again, Tuesday and Wednesday, it's food truck lunch.
Yeah.
And they've got about 20 food trucks in there, and it's all paid for. So you just get to enjoy it. But to your point, more laid back, like go grab lunch, enjoy the conversation in line, find a spot to relax with a different group, make some connections. You want to go back for something else, go get it. But we also then have our lunch be like an hour and a half plus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, that's too long.
Yeah.
You're going to lose people. No, that's not the case, because you need time to eat and you need time to engage and socialize. Yeah. And then, a little bit of relaxation for a minute. And then you're into the breakout sessions and workshops. And so, lunch is just way different. I remember when I first said, hey, team, we want an hour and a half for lunch. They're like, really? I'm like, you're going to want 2. But an hour and a half is that balance, right? So, it's just a different feel.
Well, I think about how people say, I'm not really much of a golfer. I golf in maybe 1 or 2 golf tournaments a year, but people say the best deals are made on the golf course. Why is that? That's because people are kind of letting their hair down, talking business. You're getting to know each other personally.
Yep.
You're collaborating in a way that's not your stereotypical sit in the office, yada, yada. And that's kind of like the lunch you're talking about. That's exactly what it was. It's just like, you're there with your peers professionally, but you're able to kind of let your hair down in a way, for those of us middle-aged men that still have our hair, I guess, let our hair down in a way, where we can connect with our peers. And there's some incredible men and women that these professionals that you get to chat with that you don't normally get to have conversations in quite that same way. And then you go in to, the main stage, and you get to hear these really great conversations or case studies, and then you walk out and there's the presenter right there, and you're just chatting with them. Anyways,
well, so I think that people will be very surprised to see the celebrities that'll just be there enjoying the conference themselves. So there's several of them I've communicated with, and they're going to just be there for a good portion of the time, right? Even though they're only on stage for 20 or 30 minutes, right? And so I remember last year on Monday night, the launch party, people show up at 6. There's no check-in, but come. Great food, great socializing. I remember last year, we had the owners of Traeger, right? And Gail Miller, and they were just there enjoying the crowd. And there's a wide range of others that would be kind of Utah celebrities. And they're just engaging and having conversation with a wide range of people. Yeah. And they're enjoying the company just like everybody else is. Yeah. And one of the things that's nice about this year is at the end of that kind of social on the patio with the great food and everything, we're going to go into the auditorium and we're going to have a 60-minute private concert, from Craig Morian. Oh, right. Wow. Like, I can't wait for him to be like, that's what I love about Sunday. It's going to be incredible. Three people in his band, kind of an acoustical 60-minute show. Nice. And I think that's going to set the tone for an incredible summit. So, I say for anybody who's trying to figure out like, what do I go to for the summit? Well, you come to all of it. Yeah. Right. Because it's all going to create a different exposure and experience. And you're going to connect people every time you're at one of those moments, right? Yeah. You're going to connect with people at the launch party. You're going to connect with people the next morning as you're checking in and a little bit of social time, right? Yeah. You're going to check, we're going to have a break, our mid-morning break on Tuesday is kind of this America the Beautiful 250, birthday celebration. And we're going to have this kind of taste of Utah happening, right? Yeah. Of all these sweets. I think it's like sweet land of liberty kind of approach, right? And so
nice dad jokes.
Exactly, right? Well, I think I think that's the team's going to call it like sweet land of liberty. I think something like that. And so but again, you're going to get out and you're going to network, and sure, there's some treats and whatnot, but you're going to be able to walk right past people who are on stage and have a great time. We've got a book club that we do, and so this year we'll have 2 books that everybody will have access to do. We'll give the books out on Wednesday, right, at the bookstore. But those books, the authors of those books will be there,
Yeah.
right? And so you'll get a chance to hear from them and then have their book. So
That's awesome.
all of these moments will just add a lot of flavor to your experience.
So tell me first about the some of the specific breakouts and specific topics that are going to be discussed. We've talked very high level. We've definitely bragged about why One Utah Summit's so great, Utah, Iron County, but let's get into some of those specifics of those breakouts and what are the topics that people can come and engage and learn about.
Yeah. So what we're doing this year is we're going to have 5 workshops and then we'll take a break. We'll have 5 breakouts, then we'll have a break, and then we'll do 5 workshops. The workshops are going to be more designed where you can kind of take away something tangible that you can go back and do, right? So the breakout sessions, boy, if I can remember all this on the spot, but the breakout sessions we'll have one on nuclear. And so you're going to get a great update on all the work happening in Utah on nuclear. You're going to get an update on what we're doing with kind of the transportation efforts with our inland port authorities, right? This intermodal approach to having train and road and all of the equipment that's being invested in Utah to make the transition between those. And we'll have great conversations on that. We'll have a really awesome conversation on talking more about the workshops, conversation about how to really help your community build out a plan around outdoor recreation and public land utilization, and what it looks like to kind of build a model for your community about how to engage and do that. It's just going to be a wide range. There's a workshop for everybody. One of the things I'm excited about, and we kind of added this on last because the federal government has recently, through the big beautiful bill, enabled Utah to have access to $500 million for rural transformational health.
Okay.
And so the idea is that Utah would be putting together an application to be able to identify how to use these funds to really ensure rural health care thrives for the future. And so there will be a breakout session talking about what that might look like, how to be engaged. And that's cutting edge. Our application will be due, I think, in about 2 months.
Oh, right.
Right. And so we haven't seen the application yet, but.
So you're engaging discussion on what do we do in this application to make us a viable competition, right?
Exactly.
To receive this.
Well, and what to do with money, because we know we're going to get it.
Oh, so it's set. Now, how do we want to utilize it?
Correct. It's an investment for our future.
Gotcha.
What do we want to do with this? So there's going to be a lot of great conversations, breakout sessions. I'm really excited for them this year.
Yeah. Well, I would be remiss. Some of our local peers would give me a lot of guff if I didn't mention Future Ready.
Oh, yes.
And what's going on with Future Ready. Now, high level Future Ready it's basically workforce development, right? And it's a partnership between help me out here. It's SUU, Utah Tech, Snow College. Those are the 3
Correct.
Educational institutions, and it's through an EDA grant. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about what's going on with Future Ready and kind of at least high level what they're doing in association with the summit?
Absolutely. So Future Ready, the Future Ready program is incredibly special, and it's really helped all of these communities find a way to better connect with their workforce, from leaders to potential workforce, and to do it in a collaborative way, right? To have 3 academic institutions agree.
Yeah.
It's actually first of its kind in the nation.
Yeah, it set a precedent that others are trying to model. Now, EDA saw that 3 universities came together and they were like, yeah, we'll fund that.
Exactly.
You're helping buoy up workforce, particularly in rural America.
Yep.
Yes, know, and I'm oversimplifying that, but
it's a really special program. Yeah. So that effort, along with several other kind of academies, right? Iron Leaders Academy, Central Utah Leadership Academy, Eastern Utah Leadership Academy, and I believe even Leadership Dixie is getting into that spot where they'll participate. Those, what we call local leadership academies, in addition to Future Ready Utah, and then the Utah Rural Leadership Academy, and then Southern Utah University's Leadership Institute, have all come together to say, we have enough energy between all of our organizations to come up with kind of a pre-summit experience that targets their leadership development. And so they've built it out, and they're calling it Emergence Day.
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting. They'll have a main stage. They'll have some kind of breakout time where they're doing hands-on engagement together.
Yeah.
They've got incredible people on stage, incredible people leading kind of those breakout interactions. So that's going to happen on Monday. I want to say 10 to 3 range. And that's kind of a separate registration, but
Yeah.
you can register on.
It's the party before the big party, right?
And it's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of Future Ready Utah or one of these academies, the invite is come and participate.
Yeah.
Right. And then for anybody else who wants to participate, and I think this first year you're going to see a couple hundred people, and it's going to be incredibly special.
Yeah.
And I think they have to be careful because now they're going to go from a couple hundred to several hundred. And it's a lot to manage, but it's okay.
Right.
And I think it's great because it's targeted for local industry leaders. That's what it's really targeting.
Well, and that kind of epitomizes what's happened just with the One Utah Summit as well, right? Like where your numbers were only like a couple hundred when you first started, right?
Yep.
And now we're going to be probably upwards 1,500 plus in attendance, right?
Yeah, and Dave, between us, it's becoming difficult to keep it at that space on campus. So we're actually planning to move it to August next year, and to have it on the west side of campus in a really special way. They've kind of mapped it out. It's going to be incredible, but if it keeps growing the way it is, we want to make it easy of access, larger main stage. Right now we can fit about 800 or 900 people in that auditorium. Yeah. And so, a portion just can't be in there. Yeah. Right. And so, we're excited to share more about that at the One Utah Summit, about what next year looks like.
Yeah. So. Well, and that's great. And it's funny, as great things grow, sometimes you start figuring out how to balance keeping the integrity of what made it great, right? With keeping the integrity of what made it great with the growth. And so, but I think the way you have it structured, with, like we talked about the lunch, and actually we'll talk here in a minute about kind of the downtown crawl and things like that. Doing things like that, even as it grows, is going to help keep that sense of that down to earth collaboration, and just the mix and the premise of what we do at the Utah Summit. I think as it grows, it's just going to get better and better. So on that note, let's talk about, and I don't know if you know all the nitty gritty details, but let's talk about what's the concept of the downtown crawl. What's going on with that? Okay.
So this is always a lot of fun, right? So, people are here Monday evening and Tuesday evening. What do you do in those evenings?
Yeah.
Right. And we've had in the years past where we've said, okay, we're going to do adventures or other experiences, and people can sign up for them. And so we've had a lot of fun with that over time. But I think what we've realized is people want to just enjoy the downtown and be with their friends.
Yeah.
And so we believe we can keep the food truck area open that evening. People can kind of go buy their own stuff. And then we've got the Shakespeare Festival agreeing to, there's a 2-man show that they're going to have just for us that evening for about 200 people. We got the Shakespeare show. And then as you think about kind of that taste of Cedar City downtown crawl, they are working with all of those businesses to identify discounts or experiences that can happen for all of the attendees if they just kind of stay in the area, whether it be, a free scoop of ice cream at Bullock, or 15% off, a drink at the winery, or those kind of things. And so people can just get done with the summit at 5, visit, socialize right there on campus, and then just kind of make your way down for a couple hours and then get back to your hotel and recuperate.
Yeah. People love our downtown. We have a couple different family members, actually, on my family and my wife's family. And there's these book club groups, and they'll go check out local little bookstores. And the little bookstore on our downtown Main Street is part of this tour of little bookstores to check out. And then there's a game shop. And then, of course, you mentioned, some of the restaurants and the boutiques and things like that. The thing we hear all the time, and I've said this on the podcast, is people joke about how Cedar City historic downtown is like walking into a Hallmark movie. And now, right now, actually, they're decorating for the fall in the historic downtown, which will go really well with during the time of the One Utah Summit. And then we'll get the holiday lighting, and that's where everybody says it's just magical.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
I love the downtown Cedar City area.
Yeah.
Love it. It's good. Listen, the idea is to make things easy,
Yeah.
organic, natural. And it's natural for people to, after having a great experience at the summit on Tuesday, want to just stay with friends and migrate just a block or two down. And there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to go see Shakespeare, go see it. We've already covered the cost, right?
Yeah. I like how you said natural and organic, because it's as appealing as it sounds to travel for work or go to conferences. It's the worst. Like people, people talk about, oh, you're going to all of these conferences. It's like, I hate it, because after the conference is done, you just go sit in your hotel room, bored out of your mind,
laptop, do work,
doing more work, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and you've been answering work stuff all day at the conference, anyways.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's like. We have these fun things to do, and just and building on that, so you don't have to just go sit and be bored in your hotel room when you're coming down. Like, there are things to go engage in the community. Walkable, magical, beautiful community. Clearly biased, but not. Like I said, that's why I mentioned something about what my wife had said of, man, I could live here, because we saw that here, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere where you can just go and be out and enjoy the quality of life that's down here.
And it reminds me, we're going to have a sunrise hike on Wednesday morning.
All right.
We did it last year, and it was really popular.
Are you challenging me, Stephen?
I'm challenging you. Step it up. Yeah. So we're going to have that. It's more of a walk, right?
Sure.
But outdoor recreation, we'll manage that division, outdoor rec, and then Wednesday afternoon, for people who are wrapped up with the summit after lunch, they're going to host a mountain biking ride as well. So there's a couple other things like that they can go do. And so there's just so much to do here. For people who maybe want to get out of town a little bit, right? Go to Parowan Gap, right? And see the sunset from there, or go up to Cedar Breaks and see the sunset from there. There are other things they can go do. And I think others will, right? There are some people that maybe just need to go get a little fresh air, and they'll take a little drive somewhere. And so there's a lot of those options. And I think Maria Twitchell's team's done an incredible job.
Yeah, Maria with the Office of Tourism.
Office of Tourism. They've done an incredible job making that information so readily available for everybody who comes. And so we'll be promoting and kind of pushing their website and some of that material, because there will be some that want to kind of just take a friend and just go disappear for an hour or two. And there's so many places to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Stephen. So now you got to tell me a little bit about who is this Stephen Lisonbee. So give me just high level. What's your background? Where are you from originally, actually?
Okay. All right. So I was born in Southern California to a banker.
Okay.
That had spent half of his life in Southern California and in Delta, Utah, or Central Utah.
Okay.
And my mother, daughter of a aerospace engineer, that is fairly famous background with some things he's done, and was raised down in the Southern California beach areas. And, my father, in being a banker, I was age 3, I was the third child. And so he had 3 little kids, and just said, you know what, I think I'm going to go to Delta, Utah, and raise my family in Delta.
Wow.
And so my mom just made that change. My grandparents, his parents, had kind of homesteaded there. And so we went there and created an incredible life. I'm so grateful my parents did that. And so I was raised in Delta.
Okay.
And had every opportunity in the world to learn and grow and serve and develop, and had an opportunity to come to Cedar City, go to school here at Southern Utah University. I was going to be a doctor. Going to school, kind of pre-med.
Oh, nice.
And then served a mission in Belgium and France and Luxembourg. And, and came back.
Was it French speaking?
It was French speaking.
Oui.
And then, oui. And then came back to Southern Utah University on my scholarship, and met my lovely wife who was raised in Tokerville, Utah, just outside of Hurricane. And just fell in love with Cedar City. It's where, our marriage began. Our first child was born here, and we loved Cedar City and Southern Utah University. And when we were done, we kind of moved on with our career, and that eventually led me into working in the state government, and just had a real unique opportunity to be a part of several different teams in state government to learn how to lead and innovate. And I had a lot of great leaders invest into me. And real precious moments for me. And then was at a point after about 18, 19 years of that had an opportunity to come to SUU and to work at SUU and focus on regional services, departments that were engaging with industry and external affairs, so to speak. And just I've had so much fun with that. And when Governor Cox won his election, had a chance to join in a shared employment agreement, take on a portion of my FTE to help out with that senior advisor role. And what a treasure that's been. What a treasure. I've just thoroughly enjoyed making all the connections in rural Utah, helping individuals find success with their goals.
Yeah.
And so, who am I? Well, I am somebody that just wants to be your champion, right? Like, I really believe in convening power, bringing people together, finding common goals, and then be aggressive in a really compassionate way of accomplishing those goals, right? And I want to be seen as a champion for people, right? That, David, if this podcast is important to you and it helps you bring the community together and tell our story, well, I want to be a champion for you with that, right? Like, that's who I am, in my profession. But, outside of my profession, like, I'm just a family guy, and I just want to be with my family. I want to explore the world, and I love to garden and spend time in my yard. Like, I'm kind
favorite vegetable out of your garden?
It would be salsa.
Oh, salsa.
Well, salsa. That's
the mesh.
The mesh. If it's not the salsa, I'll tell you what it is. It's bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers.
Oh, there you go.
I grew a lot of jalapenos, and I've just, what do I do with them? And I've learned, bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers, which is not a vegetable if you put it all together. There's very little vegetable in that bacon wrapped jalapeno
I made some
popper.
of those for the first time. I'm not a jalapeno, like pepper kind of guy.
Yeah.
Those are good.
Those are good. Yeah, you cook
those are great.
So I'm probably in my personal life opposite of my professional life. I'm more of an introvert and just want to be, connect with those I love and spend time, at home and with them traveling and seeing the world. But at work, I just want to be your champion. Whatever is important to you, let's go make it happen.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, now to kind of wrap things up, tell me what your hope and your vision is for the One Utah Summit. And well, you know what? Before I get to that, actually, there's one thing that I would also be remiss not mentioning. One thing that the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity really supported us down here is we have had the Southern Utah Economic Alliance recently expand. When I got here, I said, there's so much going on in Southern Utah. But whenever people hear Southern Utah, they think, oh, I'll meet you in St. George. But it's beyond that, right? And working with my peers in Washington County and beyond, we were able to expand the Southern Utah Economic Alliance throughout the 5-county region. And the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity has been extremely supportive in helping provide some of the seed funding to get that going to be privately led and publicly supported. And the reason why I mentioned that right before I kind of ask you your vision is I think what's going on down here in Southern Utah, what we're trying to do is establish another major Western market in Utah that's comparable to the Wasatch Front, that can compete with Vegas and Phoenix and Denver. In fact, we have as much or more accessibility to Western markets than some of the Western markets that Salt Lake even has accessibility to through rail and through one-day's trucking and things like that. And so to be able to have two major Western markets in Utah, I think is just going to continue to benefit the state's economy as a whole, not just Southern Utah. And so with that kind of in mind, I know that seems like maybe an odd intro to asking your vision of the One Utah Summit. What does it mean not only for Southern Utah and rural Utah, but what does it mean for Utah as a whole? And where do you envision the summit going, and what its intent is to help buoy our economy here in the state?
Yeah, first of all, I congratulate you and the other economic development directors. It's been years in the making to bring that collaboration together, and it took the right leaders, the right time. And now some really wonderful things are happening. There's a comparable one for Northern Utah.
There is, yeah.
And that's a great collaboration there. And so, there's just always strength in unity, right? I mean, you can find commonality and recognize each other's strengths and lean on those strengths, right? Great things happen. And I think that's a little bit why I think the Win Utah Summit has been so successful is we're leaning on each other's strengths, right? And there's this presenting partner model where these presenting partners are at the table designing and building out the Win Utah Summit. It's not just me saying this is what we should do, right? It's these presenting partners that are saying we're representing some of the key areas that are most important for Utah, and we're going to help build out the content. So I think, the Win Utah Summit continues to thrive because you've got kind of this committee presenting partner model.
Yeah.
I think, as long as you have the key partners at the table building that out, you have local connectivity and support, right? For your rural chamber coalition, your economic development directors throughout the state, that kind of group. You get those two, supported and engaged. They're all going to want to be there. So I could see the One Utah Summit definitely sustaining any change of leadership between university or governor. Like the One Utah Summit just holds constant, right?
Yeah.
And it's because the partners are always engaged, right? And then because of that, the Southern Utah University is so supportive of this model, and they have been because they're the founders of this, right?
Right.
That they'll continue to be an incredible host, and then you'll see that over time you'll see more kind of committee modeling to support this because everybody wants at the table, and so you have to find a space for them to come to that table, right? And so that's kind of how some of these things build and sustain. So it doesn't matter if it's you in your position or me in my position, but these things can sustain time. And it takes kind of a committee approach to do that. So I think the future is bright for Utah. The future is bright for Cedar City and Iron County, Southern Utah. And the One Utah Summit is just one of many tools kind of putting that on display.
Yeah, we're so grateful to be able to host it here in our area and showcase not just what we've got going on, great things here, but to listen to our peers around the state and the great things they have going on all throughout the state. So Stephen Lisonbee, Associate Vice President for Southern Utah University of Community Outreach and Engagement and Senior Advisor to Governor Spencer Cox. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.